Hey, what up, guys? I wanted to do this little horror tag thing that my buddy BDG Reviews started. I'm kind of making my response video, and if y'all are interested, it'd be cool to hear y'all's responses. So if you want to do a video too, kind of answering these questions I'm answering, that would be pretty dope. I'd love to see more, but I'm answering the same questions BDG Reviews kind of wrote down or whatever answered. So trying to keep it going, but and this is a later video. He did this about a week ago. I'm pretty late getting to it. I had some internet problems and some life things come up, so I couldn't get to it immediately. So, but this is my response video. And if any of people that are fans of my channel are watching it and you're not subscribed to BDG Reviews, go subscribe to him. I'll try to link him below, and I'll put these questions down below too. So if you can make a response video, that'd be super dope. But I'll answer these for you. The first real horror movie I ever watched, that's kind of a hard thing to answer. I mean, I've been watching horror my whole life, but I guess the first like serious horror film I watched was either The Shining or Halloween here, as I'm sure a lot of people would say that, but those are like the two, I guess, first ones that I was really interested in and like people showed me or whatever. But I was obviously watching like Tales from the Crypt and horror movies in general. I was watching just stupid stuff, but that's like kind of what like jump started the real thing. It was either that or The Shining. And a blind buy that became a favorite is question number 2, and that would definitely be Skinner. I didn't know anything about it except it was a slasher with Ted Raimi as the killer, and it's one of my favorite slashers ever. I love this movie with a passion. I love The Transfer. I've watched it twice, and I have the urge to watch it again. So, yeah, love this movie. Definitely a blind buy. I highly recommend. And third question is favorite movie that was a gift from a friend. And I don't get that close to people to where I'm like sending stuff with them and all that. Like, so I don't really have a whole lot of horror friends that I kind of send stuff back and forth with. But my buddy BDG Reviews, who kind of started this, I've sent packages to him. He sent packages to me. And the one I was most stoked about is definitely Flowers in the Attic. It's an Arrow film from the UK, and I really wanted to see this movie, so he had got it for me. So it's definitely my favorite movie he sent me. Just probably not the best film he sent me, but as far as like the packaging and being Arrow and all that, it was really dope to get that. Either that or he sent me a vinyl record of Terminator 2, which it's on the other side of the room. I don't want to get it, but that was a cool gift too. The worst trend in horror, I would definitely have to say being featureless Blu-ray releases. Like every horror movie that I get that on Blu-ray never has a commentary. I just picked up a horror Blu-ray today. I'm seeing if it has a commentary. And no, of course, it doesn't have a commentary. I think that's a terrible thing they do now. They never do commentaries for horror movies. That actually infuriates me. The most overrated series. Now, I'm assuming he means franchise. And honestly, I can't think of like a franchise that I think is super overrated. Like, I kind of like parts of every one of them. I mean, I guess the go-to answer is like Paranormal Activity, but I dig that franchise, so I wouldn't call it overrated. I love the Saw franchise. I'm trying to think of like modern franchises that I guess maybe The Purge. I don't know if I guess that's what I would go with if I had to pick one. I can't. Like every franchise, there's certain ones I dig. There's not a certain franchise where I'm like, oh, that franchise sucks. So yeah, I guess I'm gonna go with The Purge. My favorite soundtrack. I mean, I wish there was something I could show to say my favorite soundtrack. I own a lot of horror soundtracks, but my favorite one would definitely be something from like Tangerine Dream or something. Like, I have a lot of Tangerine Dream vinyl for like stuff like Thief and some other stuff, but they've done some horror movie stuff that I thought was cool. I'm more of like an atmospheric kind of thing, like the Blair Witch vinyl, which I do have. That was a pretty good one, but something to show that I think is cool. And I thought was really badass for a horror vinyl is this vinyl single for the hell is this movie? Shocker. And On this side that you see now, it has Alice Cooper doing, no, actually Megadeth's "No More Mr. Nice Guy," which is cool. It's a Alice Cooper cover, and then on the other side here you get Megadeth, "Different Breed." So I thought that was kind of cool, interesting, a little die cut record single for Shocker. Like, it's not my favorite horror soundtrack, but it's definitely cool to have. So there's that. I figured I'd show it, make the video a little more interesting. Sorry, I'm reading these off my phone, so if I'm looking down, that's what it is. I'm reading these questions. Best horror memory in a movie theater, which is question 8. See, I'm not a huge fan of the movie theater, to be honest. I don't have the best time with like audiences and stuff. They usually ruin it, but I would, I don't know. I'm gonna say Freddy vs. Jason, just because it was like a big event to see that, and I was really excited for it. And I really loved the movie. Had a good time. Either that, or I'd probably say like Jason X. I remember being really badass in theaters, or The Conjuring. I was really hyped for that, and that movie delivered. So more like that. But there's never been like a time where I was like, I guess maybe the most memorable would maybe be sorry, these answers aren't definitive. I'm like kind of thinking of them as I go, but maybe the best horror theater experience I had, if you can consider horror, would be seeing what's it called, Prometheus in theaters, because it was my first time ever seeing an IMAX movie, and I remember they gave out like posters and stuff, and I remember just being blown away with the screen size and stuff. And like I said, it was my first time with IMAX. The movie's not the best, but it was cool seeing it like that with a bunch of people that were really stoked for it, because I remember when that trailer dropped for Prometheus, it looked fucking awesome. So that was a pretty memorable moment, so I'll go with that. That was actually question 7. This is question 8. Do I have any horror tattoos? I have a ton, like a ton. It would do a whole separate video in itself. I probably have like 30 different ones, but ones I could show you off rip. Like, I got Michael Myers there, Ghostface there, Michael Myers, kid mask, I guess you'd call it. Got Pennywise there, the nostril picker from Massacre Video. Like this arm, I got a bunch of like Puppet Master people. Gacy, I guess you can say that horror. Got Chucky on my arm there. You can't really see it too well, but this is like the outline of the jackal from 13 Ghosts. Got Art the Clown here. Charles Bronson, I wouldn't really call that horror, but I mean, I got horror tattoos everywhere, on my chest, my stomach, my legs, everywhere. So yeah, those are the ones that are off the rip. I could show you, but that would be a whole different video in itself. Question 9, my favorite foreign horror film. There's so many. It's really hard to pick a favorite out of those, but I'm gonna go with Ichi the Killer. Love this movie. This is one of the first ones that brought me onto Asian horror when that whole boom was happening with like Audition and Ju-on and stuff and Ring-Yu. This is one that really I gravitated towards. It's more like a Yakuza horror movie. And 3 Extremes. That first story, Dumplings, really creeped me out, and I think this is one of the best anthologies ever made. Has a good creep factor to it. So 3 of those are my 2 for that. Alright, favorite poster art? I'm actually going to go with the 2 behind me. Ichi the Killer, because like I said, that poster kind of brought me onto the whole Asian thing, and then Terminator 2. Not really horror, but it's an iconic poster, and it's one of my favorite posters. Alright, a blind buy I regretted. That would definitely be right now. I mean, there's been a ton, but one that off rip that came to my mind was Bong of the Living Dead. I was really disappointed, and with the price of it, to get it with this like slip cover and everything, it was like $28 or something. So I regretted that. So that definitely would be that. My favorite company for physical media is definitely going to be Vinegar Syndrome. They release a lot of porn and stuff, but the horror movies they released I haven't been disappointed with any of them. I've loved all of them. They make the best slipcovers in the game, as anybody would agree. There's probably not a horror fan that would disagree with you on that one. But slipcovers aside, their transfers are mind blowing. Like they take some of the like cheesiest movies, but give them these crazy transfers. Like Jack Frost comes to mind. That was crazy. Christmas Evil, ton of them. Like one of my favorite blind that could have been one of my favorite blind buys answers was Star Time. I thought that movie was awesome. They released a ton of slashers. Madman, which is awesome. Just a ton of them. Like you cannot go wrong with Vinegar Syndrome. And they just released Blood Harvest. So yeah, that's definitely my favorite company when it comes to physical media. And my favorite horror novel that isn't Stephen King for question 13, that's definitely going to be The Girl Next Door by Jack Ketchum. That's the only book I've read by him, and I really dug it. It's better than the movie. It's short where you could read it in a few days, so I definitely recommend that book. And number 14, existing franchise that would be good as a horror franchise. So, for example, I think BDG Review's example was like Star Wars and Teletubbies would be good as horror. I personally think, I mean, it's kind of a weird question. Like a franchise I think would be really good as horror. I would probably have to go with like Power Rangers if it was like a hardcore horror movie or something, like them fighting something, or like the Ninja Turtles would be cool as a horror movie. So yeah, those are my two answers for that. And create the perfect Jason. I mean, it's one of those things like Uber Jason is badass, but it's kind of not as badass as how he was normal. So, I mean, Kane Hodder, I guess. He's my favorite Jason. I can't think of anything better. He was kind of the normal zombie Jason, more normal look, and then he was Uber Jason. So, the perfect Jason to me already exists right now. And something that would make a good horror movie, so like a book or a comic or whatever that would make a good movie. You know, I'm not a huge reader. I don't read a whole lot. And as far as comics go, I would really like to see probably the comic book series Crossed as a movie. That would be pretty dope. Or there was an old comic in the 90s from Image called The Savage Dragon. It would be really cool to get a Savage Dragon movie, but my go-to answer right now is gonna be Spawn. I know we have a Spawn movie and we've had that HBO show, but I would really like to see a new rated R hardcore Spawn, or I'm even going to say Mortal Kombat. Like I said, I know they have movies and shows and everything under the sun for Mortal Kombat, but I'm still waiting for that perfect Mortal Kombat movie that hasn't been made yet, and I really hope that happens soon. Name a guilty pleasure. I'm gonna say found footage movies in general. People seem to shit all over them, and it's one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite things of all time as far as horror goes. Some of my favorite movies are found footage. I'm always, whenever I hear of a new found footage movie coming out that sounds interesting, or in general, like if I hear any kind of good news about a found footage movie, I get hyped automatically, because for some reason I get freaked out about those more. Like Fear Footage was amazing. That's a found footage movie that just came out this year. That's awesome. I reviewed that. And The Blair Witch. I love The Blair Witch, and that was obviously one of the first ones. There's so many that I think are sick. The best is, or hold on, question 18. Show a movie I can watch over and over again. I'm definitely gonna go with Cobra. I think it's a perfect action movie blended with horror, and I think it's awesome. I could watch it any day and still get a kick out of it. I love this movie. The villain in this, the Night Slasher, oh my god, awesome. And question 19, best genre mashup. I'm not usually a fan of mashup movies. I definitely would put horror comedies at the lower end of the spectrum. Like I dig Tucker and Dale vs. Evil. I dig The Final Girls. Scary Movie I think are cool, but other than that, I'm not a fan of there's being comedy in horror movies. But I'm going to say horror action, like Cobra or The First Power with Lou Diamond Phillips, or Silent Rage with Chuck Norris, or there was another Chuck Norris one, or the 10 to Midnight with Charles Bronson with a slasher. So I would definitely say my favorite genre mashup is the 80s action horror movies, like basically if Canon released those kind of movies. So And a band that would make a great soundtrack for a horror movie. There's a band called Portal. I think would make a cool soundtrack for a horror movie. Definitely Marilyn Manson if he went and did a whole soundtrack for it. Um, yeah, that's about it. I mean, I'm pretty satisfied with horror soundtracks. I'm more of an atmosphere kind of person. I don't need a bunch of stuff like that. So I don't know if y'all ever heard of the band Portal. They do like creepy kind of atmosphere stuff, so they would really be good. And Marilyn Manson, because he's one of my favorite singers. So it would be cool to get like a creepy kind of bluesy soundtrack for like a horror movie. I don't know, take place in a swamp or I don't know. But yeah, those are the 20 questions. I hope y'all kind of enjoyed hearing my thoughts on certain stuff like that. So if y'all want to make a response video, that'd be super dope. But anyways, guys, peace.